moving quickly. Another handoff to Rankin. Rankin finds a hole. He's at the 30. Makes it to the 20. He's got one man to beat. Rankin walks into the end zone. Into the backfield. Braden Wright looks over top. He's going to try to find a man. He's got Alec Tatum. Tatum bobbles it, but he's in the end zone. What a connection between Braden Wright and Alec Tatum. Handoff to Rankin. Rankin right up the middle, and he's in the end zone for a Bearcat touchdown.
You that the views expressed in today's show do not reflect the views of KZLX, KNWT, or Northwest Missouri State University. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
This week's edition of the Weekend Sports Kickoff, Jacob Blair, Andrew Botwinick, Nolan Brooks, and Austin McNorton with you. And like every week, we're going to start it off with Bearcat football, except this week, this game means a little bit more than the rest of the season. An MIAA championship on the line, an NCAA playoff berth on the line. An undefeated Mules team of Central Missouri comes to Bearcat Stadium tomorrow.
Yeah, this is the game, folks. If there was, I mean, last week we looked at Fort Hays and we thought, that's the game. No, all the marbles are on the line right here. The fact that you now have a playoff berth and an MIAA championship on the line all in one game, that's going to make this game that much more better, so much more competitive. There's so much more to fight for these players, and they know, well, our season could be done if we don't win today, and they're going to want it bad.
And you go into that double overtime game against Fort Hays. Parker Sampson hits that game-winning field goal, and you're like, okay, cool, we got the win. As you're walking to the locker room, Rich Wright's phone probably is ring, 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 ring. He answers it, hello, hello. It's the committee. The committee's on the phone. They say, hey, congratulations on the win. Get another win. You're in the playoffs. All you got to do is beat UCM. Operation Defeat the Mules. That's exactly what this team is going in knowing that they're going to do. He hangs up the phone. They're already game planning for this week. That win, very minuscule in terms of the entire season, but a good win nonetheless last week against a very tough Fort Hays team.
See, what's fun about this game, we don't really even have to set the hype. It's already there. Everyone knows what's on the line. Everyone knows how important of a game it is. We can do all this and say all this. Everyone knows this is it. Everyone had this one circled, and we're ready for it. It's going to be awesome.
Hey, look at this game. You're in for a shootout. I don't think there's any way around that. You've got the number 1 scoring offense in the country. You've got the number 4 scoring offense in the country. UCM being number 1, Northwest being number 4. Both teams, Northwest, they stopped the run at an unbelievable clip. The pass defense right around the midway point of the MIAA. For the Mules, just the 10th best passing defense in the country. So this one's going to be a shootout. It's going to be up and down. You've got a candidate for Player of the Year in Brooke Bowles with UCM. This one's just going to be fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to look at this game. You know, is the defense going to show up, or are you really just going to have to solely rely on your offense to produce yards for you and produce touchdowns? I think this is a game where you could also see a situation of the Jacob Blair philosophy of score 4 times and hope your defense is good enough to stop.
I'm gonna up the Jacob Blair philosophy this week. You need to score 7 times.
Exactly.
You want to win this football game, you need to score 7 times.
And even then you might lose.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because Northwest or UCM's got a really good secondary. They're leading the MIAA in sacks. It's not like these defenses are bad. You just get in a situation where the offenses are so good, the defense is on the field a lot because the offense can score so quickly. So you're going to have to score a lot of points, and your defense may make plays all game long, and we're still going to be looking at a 45-42 style game.
I think this is an interesting day as well for Northwest with the senior day implications. There's a lot of seniors that, Jacob, you were just talking about the defense. I mean, you look at it, Jacob Gassman, all these guys, Mike Elke, the list goes on, Andy Hessler, all these guys who need to be making significant defensive plays. They're like, this is potentially our last time playing in front of this Bearcat crowd here at Northwest. We're playing against the best offense in the MIAA. Now's our chance to say, we're seniors, we're putting everything on the line in this game. And I think this is in a case where we could see that and we could see them step up. We saw them go to Hays, shut down, or play to a level to win that football game, forcing the fumble in the second overtime to win the game. I mean, that's what won the game. This is a team and a defense who can do that throughout, and they're going to have to step up to the occasion big time tomorrow.
The good news, too, is if you're Northwest, you come into this in this rivalry matchup. You've won the last 6 straight against UCM, and you've won 15 of the last 16. So you have this team's number. Obviously, this is a much better team than years prior we've seen from UCM, and UCM's head coach is 1-9 all-time versus Northwest. Northwest has clearly had UCM's number years past, in the last 15, 16 years even, and we've talked about the defense. The defense is number 1 in pass efficiency, I believe, in terms of like QBR rating and all that. They're a very good group of defensive players. Obviously, the secondary is a little bit more beat up than it has been weeks past. They're not fully healthy, but this defense is going to play a lot more competitive because they understand what's on the line.
One thing you just mentioned is the history between these two teams. Northwest has, in recent years, had UCM's number. Throw that out for this game. Just throw it out. This UCM team is one of the best teams they've had in a long time. You can throw that history out. We've seen Northwest this year. They're one of the most talented teams in the country, but sometimes they falter a little bit. They can't do that this week. I think that's one of the biggest things this week is if there's that you look at the Fort Hays game, go down 17-0, come back and win that game. You do that against UCM. You let them come out and hit you in the mouth early. It's going to be a lot harder for Northwest to chase back down the Mules this week. So both teams, 4 quarters of play, or the other team's going to run away.
Absolutely, and I think Northwest and this defense, they're very ready for that. They understand that the 17-point blunder that they had in the first half against Fort Hays, you hit it right on the nose, Jacob. It can't happen. It really can't, because 17 against UCM is going to seem like a whole lot more than 17 did against Fort Hays. And to come into that and recognize that you have weaknesses in areas, like you said, eliminate all that, or UCM's going to punch you in the mouth, and it's not going to be pretty.
That 17, if it were to happen, is going to come a lot quicker too, because that's just how explosive this offense is. You've got Brook Bulls.
It's kind of an offense that they can score at any moment.
Any point.
No matter where they're at, no matter the time, no matter the situation, they can score. So for Northwest, when we look at it in the second half this season, Nolan, you talked about it, making those second half adjustments. They've only given up 2 second half touchdowns all season long. Ding! Like, that's huge. But this team is not like all these other teams. That's why it makes it just another level. This isn't Fort Hays. This isn't Northeastern. This is the number 1 scoring offense in the country, no matter the situation.
For a reason. It's not.
Right.
Yes, you get some games where you're playing Northeastern or you're playing Lincoln or Missouri Southern where you score a little bit more. This team is their worst game of the year. They scored 34 points.
They're more likely to score over 40 than to not. Think about that for a second. That's unbelievable.
And this offense, you just look at some of the numbers. Brook Bulls, 3,296 pass yards this season, 37 touchdowns through the air, has added 249 yards on the ground with 4 more touchdowns. You look at their running back, Devontae Turner. He's at 854 yards this season, 11 touchdowns on the ground. Kobe Wilkerson, the number 2 running back, 665 yards, 7 touchdowns. And then in the receiving core, Zach Davidson, their tight end, 31 catches, 733 yards, 14 touchdowns. And then Shea Wyatt, 45 catches, 1,104 yards, and 9 touchdowns on just 45 receptions. It's not only that this offense is powerful, they score a lot of points, they're explosive. You see the numbers, the average per catch, the average per rush on these teams. It's a lot. Devontae Turner, 5.5 yards per carry. They can get huge chunk plays, huge chunk touchdowns at any point in time.
And with blanking on the name of the injury in the secondary for Northwest, how does that affect? Because Trey Washington will be stepping up into that situation, and we've seen him get some significant minutes this season and play in big time situations. Is he up to the challenge for this offense?
I think the bigger concern with that is Trey Washington 100% is up for the challenge. It's now you lose the depth. You lose another player. This is a secondary where the issue hasn't necessarily this year been the play from the starters. It's just been the depth. There's not a lot of bodies, and you lose Shama, so now you're going to rely a lot on Trey Washington, a lot on Darrell Green. You have Drew Dostal that'll come in, Blake Bayer. there's a lot less you can do in the secondary. You're kind of just stuck with the 4 or 5 guys back there that they're going to have to play a full game. And I think that's the bigger concern, is especially with the explosive offense, they're going to have to run all over the field to cover these guys all day long. You get to the third or fourth quarter, that's where kind of fatigue will play into effect there, and you won't have the bodies coming off the bench to be able to go cover these receivers. So that's the bigger concern, not necessarily if Trey Washington or these other guys can step up. The secondary's been good this year. They really have been. If you look at what they've done, you look at some of their numbers, it's just the bodies aren't there, the depth isn't there in the secondary.
And this defense has played without Sean Pierre before. Don't get that wrong.
Right.
They've had to make those adjustments and learn how to play with the people that they have, not necessarily piecing together and stitching together a secondary, because they've had good depth. Just like what Jacob was saying, the issue now is you're down one extra player. You have to rely on the people that you have in there and not say, well, we can pull someone if that doesn't work, figure out what our rotation would be. This has to be the rotation. Against this team, I remember we were talking about UCM at the beginning of the season when they beat Fort Hays in the opener. We were like, oh, this could just be a fluke win. We'll see how it goes the rest of the season. They beat Northeastern State because it's Northeastern State. They beat Mo West in overtime, and we're like, okay, we struggled against Mo West, took it almost to overtime. They win in overtime, 48-45. This is going to be a good team. We'll keep an eye on them the rest of the season. They've played some good competition, but up until the last couple of weeks, we really didn't know how good this UCM team was.
Well, you go back to their Missouri Western game. That was one. It was a weird game where they dominated early, and then Western came flying back at the end. It was a game where I think Central Missouri just like, okay, we've got this, and then you can't do that against Western this year, and they're a good team. But Central Missouri dominated them for 3 quarters. So this is not a fluke 10-0. This is a real 10-0, and you look, they won an outright title. Northwest, they want to steal one. It's UCM, they already have that. It's kind of reversed roles from last year. Here at Bearcat Stadium last game of the year, Northwest had at least a share of the title. If you're Fort Hays, you want to steal that share. Don't give Northwest the outright title. Well, Northwest can return the favor to UCM this year. Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Kickoff here on X106, also streaming live on the KNWT Channel 8 Facebook page. Jacob Blair, Andrew Botwinick, Nolan Brooks, Austin McNorton. And it's been a busy week of some incidents not necessarily to do with on-field performance. One, we'll start with the MLB this week. The Houston Astros with allegations of stealing signs using a camera in the outfield. A lot of nuances with this story, but in terms of Major League Baseball, a huge breaking story this week. We're still learning details pretty much every day of where this is headed, but right now, not a great look for baseball.
Well, no, and basically what they have out right now, as far as what happened overall, the Astros had a camera in center field. Team personnel would watch a feed in the hallway between the clubhouse and the dugout, and as they knew what the sign was, they would relay that sign by tapping a garbage can. 1, I'm assuming, for fastball, 2 for changeup, something along those lines. And they even have video of somebody in the hallway hitting the trash can. So, I mean, all the evidence is not on the Astros side right now. I mean, to be honest, it's a good thing for them they didn't win the World Series. Because if they won the World Series and then all this came out, oh man, I could not imagine where this would be going. You know, would it be grounds to strip a title? Would they lose wins? I don't know. There's so many different things going on right now. It's sad, honestly.
And it's not just this season. It's the 2
Exactly.
seasons prior is what I've
2017
seen as well.
And their world championship
When they did
season.
win. When they
and
did win.
They're interviewing Carlos Beltran because he was part of that team. I also heard that Kurt Suzuki, Jan Gomez had quarterback-style wristbands and they had different ones for each pitcher to talk about what pitches they were throwing, what signs were for each. I don't know if that's true or not. That's something I read that came from a fairly credible source, so I kind of would lean towards everything that's coming out, throw that into the allegation basket as well. Obviously, it hasn't been proven yet, but with everything that's coming out, there's a lot of stuff that's coming out, and it's going to be interesting to see where this goes now.
see with the Astros, honestly, just poor form, because you can't tell me that no one else in the league is doing this. You just got caught with all of the technology, all of the replays, all of the all the angles that you can get in an MLB game. There's no way they're the only team that's doing this. I mean, there's not. And the problem is that it's going to continue. They just got caught. So now with the implications of what they won in 2017, making it all the way to the World Series, who else is going to be looked at now? Not just the Astros. What other teams are going to be looked at? And it's going to continue on for a while now.
Well, I think what's interesting is they're going to go and interview a bunch of people. If they find out that they were using this system and they confirm it from the last couple of years, do those people now get in trouble? Is there some kind of suspension for them? You know, Carlos Beltran is now the Mets manager. They're also interviewing Craig Bjornson, Red Sox bullpen coach now.
And Alex Cora, who's the Red Sox manager.
So there's a lot of different pieces here.
A lot of people who tie that 2017 Astros team.
When you go through this, there's some layers in terms of the actual incident. There's, but it's pretty cut and dry what the allegations are and how they did it and what they did. Where it gets muddy, and apparently that's my word of the day, but it is where all of the different people you're talking to who are in so many different places. And how do you go about, if you do confirm this, how do you go about punishment? What does the punishment look like? Do you do something pretty much unprecedented and pull the title from 2017? I don't think it goes that far, but it gets in a situation where there's a lot more to be discussed beyond just this happening. And who do you punish? Who do you punish for their involvement, and how do you punish it?
Part of it, too, and then you can use this as your segue to get into the NFL portion of the news, but it's one thing to know what it is, but it's another thing to act upon that. Obviously, if you're using different signals for curveball, slider, changeup, that's one thing to know what it is, but if the guy is really that good, they're going to know what it is. If you line up on the football field and there's one high safety, Aaron Rodgers knows immediately, cover 1 or cover 3. That's exactly what it's going to be. That's most likely what that coverage is going to be. It doesn't matter if someone's yelling from the sideline, hey, it's cover 3. Once that ball is snapped, Aaron Rodgers can see one safety drop back. He knows, boom, cover 1. Right. That's what it's going to be. You have to. It's one thing to know ahead of time, but it's another thing to be able to react immediately.
The bigger thing is with the NFL, there's no rules that the quarterback can't look at the other side of the field and change the play because of what he sees. There's a rule in baseball, a written rule, you can't steal signs. So that's the one caveat. That's the one piece of line that makes this such a big deal, is you're not supposed to do this. And we know it happens at lesser levels. Teams have been caught at lesser levels, but this is a large-scale operation to steal signs.
Well, and another interesting thing I'm seeing here on CBS is the Red Sox got caught for something similar. They were using an Apple Watch to steal signs during 2017, which was the World Series year for them. And I think that's interesting now because you now have two Astros, former Astros employees who are on the Red Sox organization currently right now, but at the time they were with the Astros. So, I mean, it is sticky. It's odd.
And the thing is, too, this is like a base, going to be a baseline because we really haven't seen penalties for this. I mean, one of the largest penalties we've seen in terms of the MLB was when the St. Louis Cardinals they stole scouting info, and it was a $2 million fine, and they had to forfeit 2 top draft picks. That's really the only thing that we've seen in terms of punishment. We've never seen stealing signs being punished. So this will be like the determining thing for the future.
Well, for one of your points earlier, I think that this will open up a whole new basket.
It will.
You've not just on penalties, but this is just the first. Now there's going to be investigations into other teams, and I think, as Nolan mentioned, you're going to start finding different methods of ways this is being done by a lot of different teams. We don't know that for sure, but I think if I had to guess, we'll get more information in the next few years that this isn't the only team that's done something. Maybe this is the only team this big of an operation
on a big scale.
But other teams will probably get investigations into other teams moving forward.
Well, I think the worst part about this, every time you start to see a team really emerge again, because the Astros were good a long time ago, It's been a long time, and now they're back, and they're on the scene again, and this comes out. This is like Peyton Manning winning the Super Bowl, and the year he wins the Super Bowl, allegations from when he was at Tennessee come out against him. And this is just another prime example of how, a team on the uprise, if not at the top of their game, there's always something wrong, something that comes out. Now, in this situation, though, there's just blatant evidence that they're not going to get around. They literally have video of the people in the hallway under the dugout hitting the trash can.
Back to the weekend sports kickoff here on X106, also streaming live on the KNWT Channel 8 Facebook page. Jacob Blair, Andrew Botwinick, Nolan Brooks, Austin McNorton. It's been a while since all four of us have been on the show for all 3 hours, but it happened today, and all four of us are here to give off our rockers this week. I'm going to start with Austin because it's been a while. What?
Just Nolan broke another piece off of his pen.
That's a sad scene. That's a really sad scene. So I'll start, right?
Yes. Okay. I just said that.
All right. So
That was the plan, sir.
Like we were talking about earlier on in the show with the Houston Astros and everything that's been coming out recently, I think by the end of next season or halfway point through next season, we will find out that 10 plus more teams have been doing similar things as the Astros and have started to get caught or leaked information about them stealing signs.
Any punishments?
Yes. Whatever the Astros punishment is, it'll be something to probably a little bit lesser degree, but similar.
In 2021, there won't be baseball, and we'll return in 2022. Okay.
I think 10-plus teams will, and these are big teams too, not like the Padres or something like the Yankees
What, the
or
Padres are
Dodgers
immune from doing
or
this?
something. Or,
What he's saying is that if you're the Kansas City Royals and you're stealing signs, you'd put up a lot more wins than what you've been showing.
Well, just because you're stealing signs, you still got to hit the ball.
That's accurate. That's accurate. So
I think you're off your rocker, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think more teams will get caught.
Here's
because this is the first team to get caught. So
here's the way this is going to go. Either teams are going to stop, or everyone's going to get smarter with what they're doing.
That is a good point.
10 teams are not getting caught.
The Astros will be lucky to be fully dealt with by next year at that time. This investigation is going to take a long time to. So, 10 teams in a year? New. I think you're off your
If it
rocker.
becomes 10 teams, they might just take a season off, clean everything up, and come back a year
it's
later.
gonna be like the NBA
Right.
lockout.
Right.
No, I don't know about 10. Maybe Houston by next time or this year or this time next year, but not 10. Off your rocker, sir.
It's fine.
Good one, though.
I appreciate
Very good one. Some controversy.
So mine is a little odd this week because it's not really an off my rocker. It's just more of truth. Austin knows where this is going.
I do, and I'm so excited.
Here's my off my rocker this week. College basketball. I'm done. That's my off my rocker this week. College basketball. Blank. Because you can fill in anything you say after that statement is crazy.
They will not play with the basketball the rest of the
Man,
season.
I thought you were going to go with your KU one. That's why I thought you were
what?
going with it. Your Ben McCollum KU thing. I thought
No.
that's where. Oh man, this man
I told
said,
you.
This man said
Ben McCollum
that
KU?
Ben
Hold on,
McCollum.
wait, what?
That Ben McCollum will replace Bill Self as head coach
After all of the
once Bill
allegations.
Self gets fired. Not an if.
There's a reason I didn't bring this one up. The more
See, that's why I was hoping you'd say because this man, Nolan's gone.
You should have led with that one, Austin.
no, because
That's his take, not
see
mine.
now we're like I said, we're roommates. So like stuff just gets thrown around, and now he's bringing it up here.
Hey,
There's a reason I didn't say that. I just was gonna go, and I gave you this one. I just gave college basketball. Anything you say afterwards, crazy.
which is not. I mean, that's accurate. Look at this man.
I'm
Nolan.
still
Get
trying
a camera
to,
on this man. Nolan.
I'm still
right?
trying to wrap my head around the Ben McCollum replacing Bill Self one, because technically that would fit inside the college basketball blank. That would fit.
That's
Technically, yes. And in that situation, you're off your rocker.
That's true. Honestly,
Everything else, I would say, with under a certain umbrella, yes.
So, see,
be
Austin's
my
over
worst
here
nightmare.
ruining my moment.
that'd be my worst night.
I came in with something semi-creative to just say college basketball, and then he's got to ruin it.
It's creative, but it's not niche, because it literally is anything, including
That's the point.
Including Cassius Winston scores 500 points a game, which isn't going to happen. In case you didn't look at his box score from the last few games they've played, that's not on pace to happen.
That was my point from the statement. It was basically anything you say is crazy because it's not going to happen.